ready to go live. So good evening, everybody, and lovely to have you with us. Monday on Astral Oracles. Remember to say the thing. So thank you for liking and sharing, and your comments and your subscriptions, and all the beautiful energy you can contribute to these sessions. And we're working with Shiva today, backed by popular demand, and because Salish suggested it, and I'm just so happy about that, because it's a very special force to commune with. And so thank you also to Salish for moderating, and not the least for also being a patron and encouraging me to get started over there. So thanks to Salish and Veritas, and to John and Laurie, Suzanne and Laura and Steve, Frederick and Carla and Sophia and Kevin and Natalie. Thank you to you, and also Kevin, for your contribution this week and your generosity in general. So I think that's public announcements, and I'll just go ahead and connect us to the ethers. So I hope you have a lovely evening, guys, and see you on the other side. Lord of Consciousness, tripoint gathered in one, restful in movement, keeping the dance of the cosmos alive. I, Shiva, I join you this evening. Well, it is evening where I find myself speaking, folding myself into this limiting time frame alongside you, with compassion, with joy, and with the love of experience. Here I am joining you this evening. I have entitled this transmission, Piercing Infinity. See, I always rest in infinity. My being is eternity in itself. But how do you access this point of consciousness within you? How do you pierce through to these eternal states of bliss in which I reside? Do you go about it with the skill of discipline? Do you renounce everything until there is only nothingness left, and the void then swallows you up into its merciful embrace? Or do you surrender to the intensities of the world and explore these codes and patterns, transactions and dances that indeed also entice you into feelings of greater harmony? What do you do? It is a question of balance. There is a balance within you. There is a sensual axis that always spins in the pace of the heavens, that is always in alignment with the rhythms of the world, and that works as a perfect clockwork. This is your spine. This is the point that connects you to infinity. This is the rope you climb from the world up into the heavens. This is where you can find strength in these times of change. Notice that your skeleton, it may seem as if it too will perish, but it lasts far longer than other parts of you leave behind when your spirit travels on from the flesh that it once inhabited. Well, the skeleton is eternal. It has a certain makeup that is uniquely yours. It is imprinted into the heavens, and it has the memory of your energetic body built into it. So if you want to access infinity, the access point moves through the central axis of your spine and into the sacred memory of your bones. Here there are certain angelic resonances playing out. You were built in harmony with the divine, and this is the great rediscovery that you are moving into. Therefore, feel the blessings I transmit to you from all the entities, deities, forces, asuras, and demons. All beings bow down to humans in your central point in the cosmos, experiencing and choosing as you go along. Blessings and love to you this day, human beings.
Beautiful message. Greetings, Shiva. It's Salish here.
Greetings, Eilish. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, and likewise. Okay, now for Sophie asks, hi, Meds, and asks Shiva about her mother's pain, primarily on the left side of her body, and what can help.
Yes. Energetically speaking, this is a symptom of a suppression of certain energy fields. She might look into different ways of cleaning her spleen. She might also want to look into certain gentle cardiovascular exercises. This is that this pain is in many ways centered energetically around her circulatory system, and emptying the spleen of blood by getting the pulse up and, well, working the body, that would greatly strengthen her. She may also want to pose herself supine on the floor and there make this. It is, for instance, in the practice known as yin yoga, termed bananasana. Other names is also half moon pose, but it is this banana half crescent shape that she makes, where she keeps her spine straight but moves her head to the right, her hands elongated through the arms to the right and her feet to the right. And here she will feel a gentle stretch down her left side that she can rest in. She may also want to ingest more sweet juices. We are sensing carrot, for instance, would do her well. Blessings to her, and may she find health through these exercises.
Fantastic. Okay, next is Kevin. Hello, Shiva, and thank you for coming. I would love a message for my highest good in this current now. Thank you and blessings.
Yes. Well, the current now holds all these messages for you, dear one. That is, I am surrounding you in this moment. My consciousness permeates everything. And so there is a bliss hiding behind the, well, crumble stack of magazines, or, well, the compost turning slowly to mulch in your garden, or, well, the dirty shoes that haven't been put on the rack, or all these things are imbued with divine and cosmic consciousness. This is something that's often hard to access as a, well, a certitude that resides within your heart. This feeling, this absolute sense of knowing that this moment is imbued with divine order, with purpose, with will, with love, and that everything is in place, positioning itself in a cosmic dance in order to be experienced, understood, developed, changed, and celebrated. This is the message that we bring forward to you. You are already there. You just need to turn your heart in there and allow for the surrender to overtake you.
Okay, and his second question is, could you speak on the challenges of family dynamics, especially during the holiday season? We had some turbulence in my home with my sister and my parents. Could you give me your perspective on what occurred, and also any information that could benefit the group at large? Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste, dear one. This is something that many are facing and will be facing as holiday seasons for many people tuning into this message are upon you. We also extend our well wishes and congratulations on this celebration of Thanksgiving that our American friends have been having. We hope that you will consider the turkey. I am not joking around here. I am pointing to the fact that turkeys, before they are stripped of their feathers and put in an oven, while they are still alive, they are very, very strange creatures. And you don't observe a turkey and then think, well, you certainly ought to look more like a chicken or some other kind of being that I would find perhaps a little more harmonious in its design. Well, you accept that the turkey is the way that it is. So this is the interesting question about human beings. As you have expanded your consciousness and your capabilities, you have always also moved away from that immediate acceptance of circumstances that lie within the natural world. So you don't think of the tree that it should look different. You don't think of the turkey that it ought to, well, be a little less weird in its appearance. And this is essentially what you need to extend to yourself first and foremost, because by extending it to yourself, you extend it to others as well. And what happens in family dynamics is that you are almost always dealing with very interlocked ideas about who the other people are and how they are supposed to be. And at the same time, there are, of course, changes in time. So you are moving into a repetitive cyclical ritual. You are doing this with people that you have known all your life. And these people have certain ideas about you. And these ideas, well, they have been changing for so many of you. And now you are in the very weird situation, well, sensing that most of you here are used to being, let's say, if not the black sheep, then at least the ugly duckling, the person who stands out in a family of more normal individuals. And here you are sensing perhaps that other people are changing rapidly now too, because of this entire crisis and upset that you have experienced. And therefore, it becomes increasingly hard for you to figure out who are you and who am I dealing with and who am I in this relationship. And there you may also feel that a lot of this pent-up energy that has been sneaking up on you from the past is now coming up in a very explosive way in your relationships. So many of you may experience that there are these hurts and upsets concentrating in your lifetime to be dealt with. And here we hope again that you can remind you of this, yourself, of this love, extend it to you, the acceptance that, well, you're a turkey and maybe your sister is a mole and maybe your father is a platypus, and they're all weird animals, but it's all right because they are as nature intended them to be. And whatever happens between you is essentially all right, though it may feel unpleasant at the moment. It's something that's necessary within the grander scheme of development. And our blessings to you in this, and to all of you when dealing with these family configurations. There is love for you there, even though it may often seem to hide away between difficulties and behind difficulties and other skirmishes.
Very good answer. Thank you very much. To be helpful to quite a few people. Thank you. Okay. Next question from Carla. Namaste, Shiva. My mum, who is 92 and has dementia, lives with me, had a minor stroke a week ago. She had full use of arms and legs, but cannot speak yet. Do you foresee her getting her speech back? Half of her face is affected, but her mouth is drooping less now. Is there any special way I can help her more than I do now? Love and gratitude, Carla.
Yes, we extend our support and sympathy to your mother and you as well, and others who may be also struggling with this. Notice again these changing family dynamics that, well, just as you learn to deal with your parents, they become infirm and they require a different approach. This is difficult because this also means that as soon as you have found your stability and your core in life, things are bound to change. And this is one of the major challenges. I can predict that your mother will slowly regain the ability to communicate. It might take her approximately 6 months before You feel that she can utter sentences that you can also understand. And you may also experience that she will never say never, never exclude miracles, but perhaps never return to a place where she is very fluent in verbal communication, though she does have the ability to improve. Well, what you can do for her is to surround her with a type of softness. So what you may notice, and notice that even though I am addressing adults here, most of you have this bodily instinct of the infant, or indeed the fetus, that you also like to be cuddled. That is, you like to be closely compressed. We do believe there's perhaps a term for it that eludes the mind of the channel, but this way you are swapped tightly in a blanket. And you may feel that your mother, well, actually needs this type of, let's say, compression or focus around her, of a type of soft touch. And that's for you to adjust, but she is in a place where, well, she also needs to, let's say, surrender to receiving care. And here there is a type of, let's say, gentleness in your being that's actually very helpful in this. And therefore you may also allow herself to, well, surround her with this loving force that you extend to her. So we send our healing. We extend an invitation to the Archangel Raphael to visit you with guides and incantations of healing power. And we bless you this day, dear one, our love.
Okay. Now is from the Zoom room. Steve, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Namaste, Shiva.
Namaste, Stephen. It is good to be with you this day.
Good to be with you. I had a dream I wondered you could look into. I found myself looking up at the sky in the dream and looking at the stars, and the stars turned into spheres of light, came down, and the next thing I knew, felt like I was on board one of these light ships, possibly, but I couldn't really tell. I was just surrounded by light, and all I could hear was one of my helpers talking. So I don't really know what went on there. Is this a sign that physical disclosure might be getting closer? I think this dream was inspired from the crystal channeling session that Mads did with Ascalon. So I just wondered if you could speak to how we might connect to these light energies coming down to speed up physical disclosure or speed up our ascension for the highest and greatest good.
Yes, we thank you and we bless you for this question. We will do two things manually in the room that we are situated. We will first take some of this water and point to the fact that water isn't just water. It's a type of recollection system. That is, water retains the structure of all other water molecules it has ever been into. It collects a field of collective memory. And this is indeed what you will be exploring as you tether yourself to the planet and your origins. You will learn much more about what went on as your species developed and progressed on this planet, and learn that there has been several civilizational cycles before this one. This is part of the revelation, though it does not pertain to your dream. What we then wanted to do was we wanted to hold up this crystal, because you are strongly connected to the Stargate. And this Stargate, it has a certain correspondence with you. There's a type of feedback going on between you, where you act as a, we do not want to scare you, but as an type of emissary or activating unit. That is what you are going about doing on this planet, is to some extent also activating small portals within the field of consciousness that these galactic beings, entities, light ships can flood into. And so this is in many ways the instructions that you are receiving from the configuration of the stars. And why these stars, spheres of light, as yes, they truly are in their nature, are appearing to magnify. That is, their frequency of their inflow of energy is growing within you as you take in more of this. And then these light ships are places where you are being moved to be reconfigured. You have very, very strong galactic frequencies. That is, even compared to many individuals here who are, let's say, off the average spectrum of galactic energy, then you are still almost aberrant in this. We do mean this as a compliment, but it also means that you perhaps have a harder time than many people in, well, settling down with the limitations of this planet. And rather what you are doing is you are calling down this, both in, let's say, dreams are a type of sleeping prayers. Here you are calling down this energy. And there is indeed a synergy of outside manifestation, such as, for instance, this Stargate crystal activating these pulses and frequencies within you. And then you beginning to open these sensors and allowing for them to also touch others. So in this coming decade, you will sense, so many of you, that these portals become far more prolific. That is, they will contain far more energy and messages for you, and there will be a lot more of them littered across your planet and in your experience. So blessings to you. And we are being told to bring forward this specific vibration, moving through the rock and into your energetic field. 10, 9, 5, 8, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 3, 15. Blessings and love to you. We hope this served you, dear Stephen, and we have been happy to assist in this further activation. You are blessed in this work.
Thank you so much. That was great. And I'd just like to ask for and send blessings from the Most High God, the One Infinite Creator, to continue our water might continue to share the information that's been locked away by so many great benevolent races and energies throughout time, and receive more of the blessings from the galactic, benevolent galactic forces.
Thank you for that benediction, friend. This moves the hearts of many to see this sentiment awakening within humanity. This will bring great changes to your species and your collective. Love.
Namaste.
Yes, okay. Suzanne, please go ahead.
Greetings, Shiva.
Greetings, Suzanne.
I have a couple.
To be with you.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to make contact with you. I guess I should start with my first question. The main question that I had was, I was looking up information about you in in Western information, and they talk a lot about your polarity, that you have access to both sides of, I don't know, I guess I'm going to say human existence, because that's all I know. But that really interested me. And I also thought, well, is it possible that the one that we call Shiva, is that a different entity than, say, some of the Christian angels like Metatron? And how are they different? How are you different than Metatron? And does that make sense?
Yes, it's a very good question, because you discern correctly in saying that as we are all aspects of the one divine, we are in that sense lesser manifestations or expressions of that force. But you can turn it around the other way and then say, I am the face of the sublime divine. In my being, all things are created and destroyed. But if you were to differ in these energies or sort them, you may sense that the angelic, these realms, they exist independent of the human realms. Whereas we deities, we make sure that all these worlds are connected. And so Metatron may have designed it, but he didn't necessarily build it. That is, you may conceive of Metatron, if you were to describe him in Hinduistic terms, more as the force known as Brahma, that is the infinite creative force, the force that gives rise to the world. Then this is given shape by Vishnu. You may think of this, well, if we were to use the Christian terms, perhaps more of, if you were to use the Christian terms, you may think of this more as the upholding principle, the interceding principle, the Archangel of Gabriel. And then my being, I relate perhaps to the Archangel that, well, to some would be known as Astral. My force is more connected to the fertile force of change. That is, in my being, is sublime consciousness. And all consciousness essentially leads to death, because all consciousness apprehends something that is fleeting, that will pass.
Interesting. I'm practice yoga, not with the consistency that I would like right now. I do practice it. I know when I'm in a routine or I'm going through some movements that I have a harder movement ahead that is going to challenge me. But I'm able, while I'm in the stream, to not think so much about that and stay focused and enjoy. I'm getting better at enjoying the moment as it occurs, and not being able to actually relax before I know that I'm going to do something that's going to challenge me. And I have not been able to translate that movement into my life yet. Any suggestions?
Yes. Well, the saying goes, keep up and you will be kept up, because this is what you're experiencing. Well, how these poses work, the challenging ones, are essentially, they pressure you into the moment. Well, the pose itself does so by engaging you in something that's difficult, but it also does so preemptively by simply, well, presenting this unpleasantness that's coming up. And it's in the same sense that you may feel that if you are in the dentist's office and you know that you are about to undergo something that, well, best case scenario is not too unpleasant, there you might find that there's a certain quietude that moves into your experience. And this is essentially the enjoyment that you're also finding in those poses that come before the challenging or the unpleasant stuff that you're anticipating. It's this idea that all of a sudden, the silly article in the glossy magazine is very compelling and very pleasant to read, because it comes before that unpleasant thing that you are in many ways consciously avoiding by training your attention on what is going on right now. And just have faith that this will translate. This will become, well, first a physical and then also a neurological pattern. And there's also, let's say, simply a almost mechanical component to this, where the fact that you are strengthening and stretching your body and moving into this type of consciousness within it is something that also gives you more, say, fortitude in your daily dealings with the world. And you can also, well, then practice. If you feel you still don't have the patience, then go into a type of sensory withdrawal. So you could, for instance, start carrying a bracelet of beads or something else physical that may remind you that when you touch this, and you do this in difficult situations, you train your attention on your belly and on the breath that's moving in and out there. Or if you have a favorite mantra or a prayer, you can also turn to that. But simply having this withdrawal and redirection will be something that will also, let's say, grow your patience in challenging situations.
Well, thank you very much.
You are most welcome, and you are blessed in this pursuit.
Thank you.
Okay, it's Laura next. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. My deepest love and gratitude to you, Lord Shiva.
Our love to you. It is good to be with you this day, Laura.
Likewise. So I would like to ask about an experience that I had with Kali Ma and Archangel Michael. It was part of a larger experience that was part of closing the door on the previous timeline of my life. I had started with meditating there were several energies that I was working with, and so I would meditate with one for a while and then add the next one. And then all of a sudden I had this sense that in the back of my head, I was like, oh, that's where it gets in. And I think I meant to myself the negative self-talk, those kinds of things. And so Archangel Michael appeared and was essentially standing guard over that area for me. And then I just knew it was Kali, and she was with this tiger. And it had been some time since I had thought of or connected with Kali, so that later when I looked into it, it was amazing confirmation that to see her with her tiger was something that was very common. But she offered, I don't know what I heard exactly, but my response was, well, I don't really want to burn anyone else down. And then I realized that she was just talking about the stuff within me that was no longer needed. And so I started to experience this rush up and down my spine that I've never felt before. And I thought of it as this fire, and I just kept repeating, burn it down, burn it all down. And it just went up and down my spine for quite some time. And then the experience moved on into some other things. And at the time, I just took it for what it was. But as I continue to think about it, I wondered if it was connected to Kundalini, or if it was just her fire cleansing me.
This is a beautiful question. Know that, Kali, you can approach as my consort or another aspect of my energy. And so I'm so glad to be able to shed some light on this and to be able to confirm this experience you had as, well, what some people know as a Kundalini awakening. This strong current within your spine, once it has been activated, it begins its inevitable process of union between the physical and the divine. And so notice this, let's say, almost sliding range or slideshow of associations. So this destructive energy is also connected to the primordial serpent energy that gives rise to the physical world, this thing that lies coiled beneath or at the bottom of your spine. This is Shakti, another aspect of Kali. And this is what awakened within you. And what it's burning down is the blocks. This is purifying this energy within you. This is also associated with the Nagas, these serpentine goddesses demons. You may look into these also. You may even want to acquire a Naga to protect your expansion within this field, because this energy has been awakened and it's merging with you. And you may sense that you can safely surrender everything to Kali. Just do it with full dedication, because what you are surrendering is essentially all the Maya, the illusions, the images, ideas, perceptions that are hiding within your universal being. And she's so happy to consume all of that and to replace it with pure, powerful, creative energy.
Wow. Thank you so much. And so a while later, I had this dream of this big yellow snake, and it was in my bed, and then it was in a strawberry patch, and then it was in the ocean. Was this one of the Nagas?
Yes,
Or
but
connected to this?
it's this, but it's a golden serpentine energy. So it's connected to the richness of let's say the pure power that you are built from as well. And this was one of the shapes that it took. So you could think of this as a Naga or a lesser manifestation, but the important signal is that it's carrying you from the sweet fields of the ground also into these expansive waters, and it's unifying these two elements. So here there is again this unification taking place between the cultivation of something within your space, within your material realm, and the surrender to the vastness of the spiritual ocean of you.
Blessings to you and much gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you to you as well, dear one. Blessings to you on these blessed explorations.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, now, namaste again, Shiva. I'd like to ask a question on about 14 years back, during a Reiki session, Ambema, which is a consort of aspect of Parvati, came in with her 3 helpers and her chariot, which is the tigress, summoned the Reiki master out, and I was in the room for approximately an hour, totally out, unconscious. And when I woke up, my desire, my addiction to alcohol had been lifted, gone, disappeared completely. Beforehand, I was addicted to alcohol. Now, I feel that there is a connection here. Definitely is a connection with you, Parvati, and also Ganesh. Are you able to expand on this experience and on Shiva's family in a sense?
Yes, well, we couldn't have you denying our influence anymore. That is, you were using the alcohol as a type of numbing mechanism. This may seem like quite a general statement, but in your case, it had to do with, well, certain experiences or certain energy of dedication within you that you felt had brought you to fall in past lifetimes. And so you knew cultivating this connection to the sacred family would bring you back into, let's say, a sense of responsibility for your fellow men, a sense of community, a sense of support of many things that you feel that you have sacrificed yourself for. And, well, perhaps not received necessarily the bounty or the boons that you were also in many ways entitled to expect. That is, you have actually been a good and faithful servant to the temple. And this is what then you have also been exploring an avoidance of through some rebellious, let's say, self-agency And well, what often happens with human beings when they turn to self-agency, that is, when they don't serve anything else than themselves, is that they become very self-destructive, often manifesting in addiction. And this is what, well, was real. It awoke within you this sense of, well, both a connection to the sacred family and also a sense of connection to your earthly family. So there was something that clicked into place. And once you click into this place of identity, of fitting into the framework you have, and this doesn't necessarily need to be a complete intellectual understanding. This can be this type of emotional purification that you underwent. Well, then the need to harm yourself by addiction, for instance, well, it appears in the light that it would naturally seem, which is quite counterintuitive and not a very fun way to spend your time in the long run. So these are some of the aspects of it, but you may want to, we sense in the coming 5 years, you may want to, we are for some reason getting the name of the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, and here, well, go temple looking, so to speak, because there might be some, let's say, elephantine temples, or especially temples dedicated to Ganesh that will awaken certain memory patterns within you. And so much of your former lifetimes are becoming active and wanting to be seen and experienced as you move into this phase of your life.
This is just a follow-up. I believe that's the reason I was, in a way, summoned or requested to go to Rishikesh in the year 2018. I believe they had to do something with this temple of Ganesh.
Yes, here there was a type of, let's say, reinitiation taking place. So you needed to connect to this place, and you somehow, let's say, what you have been doing, and you may have noticed this, but you have actually been climbing the summits of the sacred mountains. So this initiation took place at the base of the mountain, where there is a very strong, let's say, unification energy of sea and land and river and mount, and those you are building, well, you're building on. So also notice, we may remind you that for some time you had trouble with your stomach area, and this also had to do with, well, often Ganesh is also portrayed with this stomach because it had to do with this ability to take in the world and process it, and then turn it into a type of, let's say, savoring fortune. And this is also something that has grown.
Strangely enough, I've got it this evening. Okay, right. Let's go into, so lots of questions building up. Thank you very much indeed. Namaste, Shiva.
Namaste, blessings to you.
Okay, YouTube questions. First one, Yana D. How do I put myself into fearless state so that my creations are not deformed by fears? Blessings and gratitude.
This is a beautiful question, and we understand it. But, well, if you were to examine it closer, you would discover that what you are aiming at is not necessarily a fearless state, or a state where the fear is able to flow and doesn't block your action. That is, fear, as all emotions, serves a natural purpose and place in things. Well, there is, for instance, a very rare genetic disorder where people are unable to feel pain, and Well, for instance, what happened was there's a family in the country that we are communicating or speaking in at the moment who has this disorder. Well, they often get up to terrible, terrible injuries. One of the children broke their shin bone, so it was protruding from their leg, and then they rode their bike all the way home. So this is very illustrative when we speak of physical pain, of why it's not a very helpful situation to not be able to feel pain. And fear is the same thing. Fear actually informs you often of places that, well, perhaps you shouldn't go, or things that you shouldn't explore. But then, of course, there is this fear that, well, we could specify perhaps as anxiety, the sense that something will go wrong, that something is not good for you, that, well, where you charge these intentions you have with a certain misgivings and misapprehensions about how they will turn out. And this is what you're looking to avoid. And here what you do is that you acknowledge that the fear is an energy and that the energy is working for you. So the same energy that's driving you to change is informing the fear. The fear is just siphoning it off in a place where it's not, it's sort of running away from the main current and then just stealing the energy into, well, unhelpful thoughts of, well, what could go wrong, you know. And there what you really do is you reconnect this energy and you say, okay, the fear is actually driving me, because the fear is also showing me that I'm excited about something. That's something that matters to me. That's something that I would like to hold on to, and something that I care about, that I would like to attract into my life. So fear is actually a part of my power. It's what makes me a powerful manifester, because it makes you able, or it makes, yes, you a powerful manifester, because it makes you able to see that, well, where is it that you are driven towards? And that's not only an avoidance of fear, that's also a following of excitement. And, well, when you care about something, you're excited about something, there is a natural element of fear in losing it. So that's what everyone, well, parents especially, we could say, but everyone who loves another human being and are attached to them also have to face, that there is an element of fear and worry connected to this love. And that's simply a part of that energy that's activated. So can you also learn to love the fear? Or if not learn to love the fear, then at least, well, fear that you're not, well, channeling the love, and therefore turn more into that. We hope this made sense for you, dear friend, and we very much support you in this manifestation of conscious intent into your reality. Blessed be.
Yeah, thank you. Next one's from Car 1212. Hi, Shiva. Please, the dancing Shiva you sent me flashed into my brain. And what's your message for me? I love you.
Yes, we love you too. That might be the message, and then you can spend an eternity unwrapping it. What does it mean that the Most High and Sublime actually has personal, deep affection and love for you? It means that we see your existence as splendid as the movement of the galaxies between each other in those infinite reaches of space. We see what is going on with you specifically as a transformation, a making, a hallowing, a making sacred of the universe. This sanctification of experience is something that takes place within the human mind, body, spirit complex. And it does so with the union. And so in the dance, you have the exact movement of stillness and harmony, because, well, there is a stillness in the constant placement, the rhythm, the ongoing element of the dance. And yet there is an unexpected quality. Where will the foot move next? How will the dancer twirl about? And this is the very engaging factor of the cosmos. So remember how excited you are about harmonies, about beautiful geometric patterns turning up out of the blue in your crop fields and other places. So these are things that, well, enjoy them, because they point to the deep mystery of consciousness that you came to this incarnation cycle to explore. Come dance with me, dear 1212, as you already have been. Blessings.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, the next one is from Devante 444. Hello, Shiva. Are there any messages from my higher self, guides, or light beings gathered here today?
Well, there's a message here. It's coming in from, well, a friend here is not energetically connected with or has translated this energy directly, but they are known as the Hathors. They're very much connected to these Egyptian energies. And they are saying you should look into the mystery of the scarab. There's a secret here of activation that's awaiting you especially. And they're very much looking forward to assisting you in this. So happy journeys to the skies and to ancient Egypt. Well, the beetle is there pushing the sun in front of you. Blessings.
Thank you. Okay, the next one's from Senison. Hello, dear ones. Shiva, I had many experiences with non-physical beings. Can you tell me who all are my guides and their names? Thank you.
Well, their names would be tentative. And so if you have experiences with them, it is better for you to approach them with the names that you would give them, because the vibration of the name would be translated slightly different. Well, the image that this mind sometimes used to make sense of it is, if you saw someone in a poncho and you didn't know what a poncho was, what would you describe it as? Someone would call it a raincoat, someone may call it a shawl, someone may call it a strange type of jacket. So notice just that this is actually also the idea when you are communicating with these non-physical, very alien entities, that they are sort of dressed in names and codes that are often a little different to translate into your languages, because they're trying to make sense of something that's very foreign. But we can give you some of what's coming forward. We sense a type of, it's very weird because it looks a little like a cake. So like a marshmallow cake with a cherry on top. And it calls itself puff. Of course it does. And it at least in the language Danish, puff also is the type of name for this type of cake. So you may sense that this is something that's bringing forward a sweetness to your life, but it's coming from one of these very weird dreamlike substratums of the dimensions. But it's presenting itself. Then there's also a dragon calling itself. You can call it Oleg, O-L-E-K, and then put some R's at the end if you want. But this, well, is teaching you more about reptilian forcefulness and the need to also sometimes, well, allow your aura to become sealed for a little while and to restitute within that space. So blessings to you, and enjoy the company of Puff and Oleg and all your other guides, dear one.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question here from the room. Ashen, go ahead.
Hi, Namaste, Shiva.
Namaste to you, Ashen. It is good to be with you this day.
Thank you. So my guides recommended a while ago that I just allow myself to indulge in low vibrational activities such as smoking and drinking, which would help me enter those lower chakras. So I have been doing that. But can you comment a little bit more about that? Because I feel like it's not the healthiest thing to do. Thank you.
You are absolutely correct. So the encouragement that they were transmitting to you was also that, well, it's expressed in the sentence that the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, but that you were looking for a contrast experience. So notice we were also speaking of an alcohol abuse before. And so it's also this idea that, well, you can abstain from the onset, but then often your motivation is also one of suppression. But if you abstain after having had a long, alcohol abuse, you also realize that this is certainly not something you're missing, because you kind of know what it is you're missing, and you've moved past that. And so this is also an opportunity for you to, sort of have activated that hedonism, and then realizing that hedonism is accessible to you in perhaps more pleasurable ways than smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, which is can be, of course, an enjoyable experience and also be something that you share with others, but that in the long run quickly becomes devoid of pleasure. But what it has done is that we sense that, you have gained a certain sense of pragmatism. Cynics may say cynicism, but we sense that you have gained a bit, you are less strict with yourself. And at the same time, you are more, let's say, rigorous with the world. You demand more honesty of the world. And this has to do with you also tying into, let's say, the more low vibrational, more earthy sides of yourself. So this is helpful. But yes, if you do feel in any way called to give up smoking and drinking, then please do so, because you also govern these instincts within yourself, and you are correct that it is not healthy for you in the long run.
Yeah, I do feel like it has served me to an extent. And it is interesting because I've replaced my crutches, which used to be like weed and psychedelics, which would push me in those upper chakras, to something that's more a little muddy. It is a different experience for sure. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. And because this also points to, what I was addressing in the beginning, and what we have been addressing today, that these balances are also individual for different individuals. So it's often, of course, not the best advice to tell people they should drink and smoke, but it is, often also something that for people who feel a little untethered to, or not, let's say, not too connected to the mundane realms, a way to sort of, say, get a little muddy with the rest of the dirty world. So we hope you have enjoyed that exploration.
Thank you.
Okay, Shiva, how is Matt's feeling? We're on the hour now.
Oh, yes. Well, he was just opening his eyes. He's saying he's very cool with, at least, that if you would check in with him in a half an hour, and then he's happy.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, we've got a 4 or 5 questions YouTube, and just take it from there. Okay. Next one is from Seraphine Susan. Hello, Shiva. Can you advise me which of my spiritual gifts I should initially focus on for my business that I am about to start? Thank you.
Yes, I sense work up from the healing. So it's not that you may want to prioritize the other things, but this is, again, another, let's say, more helpful way of beginning from the ground up and focusing into the lower chakra. So working with transferring healing energies to people, and then build the house of cards on top of this more steady foundation. So as things get finer and finer, more subtle and more etheric, they are still tethered to this transferal of healing and blessings in this.
Thank you. Next one is from AJ. Do I have any, bear with me 1 second, just lost it. Yes. Do I have any talents or innate abilities that will do me well to know about, if that's even possible to tell?
Yes, well, you're good at asking questions. That's an innate ability. See, I'm challenging you here, friend, because it's often the fact that what you are good at is what's concealed to you, because it's also fairly evident for you. So notice that people who take very easy to a thing, they rarely make a big fuss about that thing. That is, you rarely meet people who are very good at playing the piano and are naturally drawn to sit at the piano to brag about it. It's just something that comes up. So there might actually be things, and it might be in areas where you don't necessarily give yourself credit for it, but where you are both skilled and inspiring people by exploring this. So the question is rather, which one of your innate skills do you want to unfold? Then you may also sense that you have, well, an ability to, you're quite the vivid dreamer, and you're also quite good at recollecting these visions and, well, recording them. That is, putting them down and analyzing them and understanding them. So this may also be a type of skill that you would want to extend not only to your own dreams, but also to others. But do have fun with it, because you have many gifts, dear one, and they are yours to explore and use, and also for others to benefit from. Do not hide your light under a bushel, we believe it is said, but also shine it clearly for the world to see. Blessings in this.
Thank you. The next one is from bear with me. Alexis Water 23. Hi Shiva. Blue Genie. Is it possible for a consciousness to be divided and to be both in the physical and the other world at the very same time? Sorry, I can't ask directly because it's dangerous. Thanks.
Yes. Well, we do not wish to put you in harm's way, dear one. And so know that you are also protected, that even within the frame of danger, there is a greater framework of infinity in which none of these risks are, in a sense, real, or where you will be transferred back to source, regardless of what you may experience of adverse things in these travels in the lower realms. That is a perspective I put forward. Then I will say, yes, it is very, very possible for a consciousness to be divided. It is indeed what's the hallmark of human beings. It is that you live in the eternal realms and in the physical realms at the same time. And so much of your troubles come from unifying these circumstances. And so some human beings, often the ones who are what you may call younger souls, they are often still very much identified with the material to the detriment of their spiritual well-being. That is a sense of, let's say, true joy or fulfillment, ease, joy, happiness. But there's also, of course, the opposing things that so many of you may be familiar with, where you feel that you don't quite fit in or belong to this world. As we were speaking to our friend Aston about this tendency to activate the higher chakras, so for instance, the use of, well, more radically mind-altering or consciousness-manifesting substances, which may again then exacerbate this slight frequency, this sense of being out of tune with the physical world. And so, well, where you are aiming to is to integrate these two things. And you do this by shifting your consciousness with effort to one of these 2 points. So that is, try to reside in the physical when you are in the physical, and try to reside in the non-physical and engage yourself in that when you are there. And both these things will also help you to strengthen that integrity. And then remember, you are encased in this shielding light that you call your aura, which is a type of divine geometric lattice work made of living light. And this is protecting you at all times. So if you feel threatened or exposed to danger, then move into this and activate this with your consciousness. And then that grows, because in many ways, this is your spiritual self, which contains both your physical imprint and your etheric body.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we have a question here from the room. Okay, room. Suzanne, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering, you were mentioned about the spine was a place to start, or maybe a place where we end. And you mentioned the middle of your back. Did you mention the middle of your back?
Oh, I do not believe I did, but you may notice that this is the center of the self. So approximately where the energetic center of the solar plexus is situated, this is where the integration point, where you sort of come into your sense of self, of being a defined being, of being an I or a me, so to speak.
See, thank you. Where is my energy regarding my spine? Is there anywhere I should be focused on? Thank you.
Yes, you put your left foot out and you shake it all about. So it's it's actually, you could approach, well, some of your physicality more through the hokey pokey, and then what we are pointing to, of course, is that the fact that there is this tendency towards seriousness that builds in the adult, and that's a helpful experience. But the more that you can also just shake yourself up, the better. And the reason I'm pointing to your left foot is that, well, often this happens because the great majority of people use one side over the other, prefer using one side of their body over the other. And so you may feel a little askew. And so actually activating your left side by shaking it and putting it forward and moving your leg and your hip joint and swinging that forward would actually serve you well. And then, yes, just being a little jittery, so not being so disciplined necessarily with the movements, but also, you know, just jumping a little in place, or dancing, or allowing yourself to shake it out.
Oh, thank you. It's interesting you said that. I had just an experience where I allowed myself to move to music, and did yoga and a variety of stretches, and I found it incredibly healing. So much so that I thought I should maybe bring it to other people. There wouldn't be no instruction verbally, but it would just be a place for people to go and heal, and possibly imitate my movements, or possibly imitate their own, come up with their own healing. So anyway, that was a thought I had. Thank you.
Yes, and these thoughts, they usually come from your higher self. And of course, not all good ideas are necessarily, you're never forced to act on it. But if this is an impulse that gives you joy and that you would like to play around with creating, then this is definitely something that's, well, it is definitely something that's being served to you by your higher self. And this joy is a very clear signature that there's something in it. And when you're creating from that place, the signature is always somehow transferred in whatever it is you're doing. So it does rub off in subtle ways on people, and sometimes also in very direct ways. So do have fun with exploring these new vistas and venues, because you may also sense that is what will break up some of what you may also experience as a little tedium in other parts of your life at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Blessings.
Thank you. Okay, the next one, forgive me if I decimate or mispronounce your name, is Yinwi Lan. In my now understanding, all that is infinite. Would it be correct to think that there are infinite number of souls, and how do we play that out? Thank you.
Yes, it's a very good question, but it's again this idea well, the way of thinking about it is that these are emanations. So there is an infinite number of souls because there is an infinite source, and source is partitioning itself into lesser manifestations. And these lesser manifestations become at the first level, let's say, the imprint of the oversouls. And this can, for instance, also be the imprint of the angelic oversoul. So this entire frequency is created for it. And within that, there is, in the same way that there is a finite number of atoms within the universe, there is also a finite number of souls at play. But this situation is so dynamic that to capture that and to count the souls at play, you would have to make a frozen image of something that's constantly changing and morphing. So the idea would be that yes, well, you consciousness make images, subsections of reality to approach them, such as the soul. But indeed, your individual soul is an infinity of creation. It's also constantly morphing, changing, reflecting in its infinity. And this is a paradox it's almost impossible to fold it into human experience. And the easiest way to do it is through very pregnant symbols, such as the Om or my figure, or the Nataraja, this union of opposites within it. So you see, within my being, all zones are contained, but they are destroyed as they are created, and they are created as they are destroyed.
Thank you indeed. Okay, next one's from Anne Hosen. Kindly give us advice for living in higher states of consciousness. Deep gratitude and appreciations for your presence. Oh, beautiful question.
Yes, very beautiful question. I advise you then to move into a place of the happy heart. What do I mean by this? Well, it speaks to the joy and vitality of your vital organs. There are vital impulses hidden within the physical realm. There has been a tendency, as you move through 3D and 4D, to experience also the physical realm as a set of limitations. But what you are discovering is that surrounding these physical realms are realities of higher and higher, let's say, energetic resonance. And so can you actually begin to feel that there is a vibration within the vitality of you, within the beating of your heart, within breath itself, that is joyful, that is pure, that's restorative, that's moving to, well, celebrate, restore, and create life simply by moving through you. This is a very good baseline to move from existing in this higher space. And from this point, you will notice that everything is in many ways just a folding of this cosmic vital energy. So what you are experiencing, perhaps as a truck parked on the other side of the road, is made up of the same energy that was, well, created within the creation of the Big Bang as you conceive it, and then has just moved through a slightly different pattern than you have to move up, not configured in a human body, but configured into the shape of a truck. And this applies for all dead and living things. So when you begin to see this animated breath of everything that surrounds you, you begin to see the creative nature of it. Then you also begin to perceive yourself as a type of guardian of this life, as a type of priest within the temple of your experience. And this is a very helpful way to move into it. And then when you are faced with negative experience, you will also realize that this is something that has the opportunity to be transmuted, much as, well, you are aware that when you are dealing with manure or other materials, you may want to also, well, spread it out and allow for time to turn it into a new vital process. So there is a vitality even within those negative things that promise to, well, move you into a higher state of growth.
Thank you very much indeed. The next one is from someone who's just typed their name randomly with the alphabet characters and numeric digits, Cars West Red XYZ 956, whatever. Question is, dear Shiva and Meds, excited to be here. Recently, I've been finding it hard to concentrate on work, almost hating it. Any advice on turning it around would be helpful. Shyam, probably that's the name, Shyam.
Yes. And well, you are in a place of resistance because you are feeling overwhelmed. And so it's this, you have been building up to, let's say, a huge change, a huge influx of freedom in your life. And it has taken a lot of courage to move into this space. And now you find yourself under something that is in many ways far more restrictive. And well, what you do is you explore this reality, you go in and explore what are the restrictions. So begin to name your points of irritation. That's not necessarily well, you can keep a diary where you, well, where you perhaps state your negative feelings about things and people that happen, because this will also tire you of it. So you'll be able to park it and place it there instead of having to carry it around with you. But what you may do is you begin to strictly analyze, what is the sensation that I'm dealing with here? And well, why is this sensation coming forward? And what would be the opposite sensation to this? What could I imagine doing instead of this that would then fill me with happiness rather than frustration? And then we would also just, well, extend the compassion from this body or consciousness that's translating us this day. As well, we are aware that we believe there has been perhaps 35 hours of sunlight in this month of November on these latitudes. And that has been, well, quite depressing. That is melancholia inducing to deal with. So you may also want to really get into coffee or chocolate, or find these small types of rewards and sweets that you indulge yourself with to make some of these long dark days also a little sweeter. So those are some of the blessings and advice I can extend to you, because notice these great shifts, they are always an opportunity and also very much a manifestation of you coming into the agency of your own life. So you are never at the final station, but you are in a place where you have really moved into a far, let's say, more architectonic control of your destiny. And you also need to just, well, learn to work the reins of that carriage or of that chariot.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is from Angel Wings. I have awakened to my true self. I'm a reincarnation of an Aeon angel. I'm awakening other angels now and helping them find themselves. Any advice for me on keeping my mind together with so much energy?
Yes, because again, I can address this type of, let's call it the light worker predicament. That is the tendency to move more into non-physical, high vibrational realities, partially because they feel good, partially because you remember being in these and the far more effortless states of blissful being that you experience there, but also partially because it's, well, many of you have in one way or another at some point dissociated a little from your bodies. And so have trust that this unfolding and guidance of your angelic explorations are already well on their way. So actually try to complement it with more earthy practices. And this could be, for instance, gardening, going for long walks, or just having a potted flower in your windowsill. It might also be spending more time with animals and, well, allowing also for the energy to be transferred through your feet, perhaps out through your big toes, and then will be directed, much as a lightning rod, you could consider yourself, down into the core of the earth, because this is really the exercises that would help you in balancing out these high frequency energies that can be very overwhelming to sit with sometimes. So, and you may also want to go into, well, tea, chocolate, coffee, whatever is your preferred sort of earthy sweetness, to also, well, find some of that indulgence that allows for physical enjoyment in the simple pleasures of life.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next question is from Beauty Joan 03. Hi Shiva, would you work on my third eye, and are there any messages for me?
Yes, I reside in your third eye already. I'm calling you from there, and this may be the message. There's a type of unlocking going on here, and you may sense that, well, what you want to conceive of is that there's well, the mind translating us is saying that I'm not to gross anyone out, but you may actually conceive of the third eye as a birth canal that's giving birth, well, somehow quite violently almost, to your higher self, and this may hurt, and you may experience headaches and pressures and these things, but there is actually an opening, a portal where your spiritual self exits the mental realms and unites with experience. And this is the nature of Shiva consciousness residing in your third eye. So call me forward, and I will be happy to emerge from there, and there, well, pull out the higher self along with me for you to unite. Blessings to you.
Beautiful, yes. Just a quick note from Car 1212 saying, been dancing all day yesterday, dancing today, have been told not to dance so much at work, and just says, I love you.
We love you too. And my encouragement is to keep on dancing, and work will have to adjust.
Okay, next is from Jim. Any messages from my guides, please?
Yes. Well, your guides are, we're sensing, is it the 12 days of Christmas? The song is called so, and it was just a partridge in a pear tree. So it's what they're saying is that, well, you may want to prepare something as a build-up to Christmas. We are not quite aware of the local customs surrounding this, but again, in this area, the period of Advent is also one that is surrounded by quite a lot of tradition. So there is, for instance, a wreath with candles where the first one is lit this Sunday. And so this is the idea that, can you build up a type of program for yourself? Is there something that you would enjoy giving yourself as a challenge that would be expensive for you? And you may structure it around the 24 days moving up towards Christmas and culminating on Christmas Eve. You may also want to do it every second day if you want time to complete the challenge. But it is this type of, well, amassing of value as you build up to the solstice and to the Christmas celebration that they're trying to guide you to. And they're saying that you perhaps know what it is that's tickling your fancy at this moment, and that you would be enjoy getting into for this period of time. So yes, we hope that the partridge may also land in your pear tree, and we wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Next one is from our friend Veritas. He says, greetings, Shiva, and blessings in the name of the Most High.
Greetings and blessings to you also, dear Veritas.
Shiva, can you tell us if there is a momentous global event that will affect all of us before the end of this year?
Well, it's it's so interesting with human beings because we believe well, perhaps you may have stopped someone on the street somewhere in occupied Europe in 43, and then they would be asking, well, when is the war really gonna start or get really bad? That is often human beings don't really recognize momentous events. That's also why, even though so many of you prefer to you prefer to have ordered lives, you really like disaster a lot because it's so explosive, and then you at least know that there's drama going on, because well, hasn't it been a quite momentous event these past years? Have you not sensed that something completely new, strange, different, and challenging has been going on in, well, all of human societies? This is indeed the event. It's then, of course, tied to, let's say, many sub-events, much as, using the example of the war again, there are many instances or many momentous events taking place within this more major framework of events that you call the Second World War. And so this is the idea that many things are connected to the pandemic, but if you are expecting a meteor to hit the Earth, we can assure you that will not happen. Neither will a nuclear explosion happen or a zombie apocalypse. So, but you may sense that revelations are coming forward and that things are changing and protests are ramping up, and well, new strains are spreading, and things are really being renegotiated. And those are part of a momentous unfolding of events. But it does also depend a little on where you're living. So people who are, let's say, living in Southeast Asia, we sense, for instance, in India, there might be some dramatic changes to the situation that you may experience as we approach the end of December.
Thank you. Now, I've got two more questions in the room here, and we're on the 90-minute mark. How are you feeling? How's Matt's feeling?
He says he's fine. So if there's a couple of questions left, he is very happy to answer them.
Okay, Laura, go ahead first.
Thank you. I wonder if my parallel lifetime that has been active in my experience, helping me to understand the process of shifting energetic grids to our preferred reality. I wonder if they have any messages that I feel like there's something, and I just haven't been getting it, that they've been wanting to share recently.
Well, they're saying timelines are uniting. So what you have thought of as timelines, or well, these trajectories that you take through the multiverse of we can say adjacent realities, they are saying that you are merging with some of them. So and this doesn't go for you only, but some of you may experience that you're beginning to have quite vivid memories from lifetimes that, well, they seem to have the resonance pattern of a memory, but at the same time, it's obviously not exactly your memory, yet it is. And this is type of the merging. So just trust that the process is moving naturally, because it also has to do with your grid having been, let's say, broken open. So powerful spiritual surgeries having taken place on you and then being sealed again. And so this grid is now being strengthened and built into a greater multidimensional framework where some of these parallel existences are also feeding into it, as you are feeding into theirs as well.
Beautiful. Much gratitude.
Thank you. Blessings to you, dear Laura.
Okay, and I have a question from myself. It's regarding, you've talked about it already today to Laura and I think Suzanne. The energy is running up and down back of the spine. I would like to know what the status of my Kundalini is at the moment.
Yes. Well, we know that these percentages can sometimes also be very helpful as an entrance point to understanding it. And there we would say it is approximately at 69% of its present capacity. So you may also experience that this allows for or activates a lot of activity within your energetic centers. So sometimes a little coughing or clearing out, sometimes a little ache in the neck, sometimes a little upset stomach or achy knees. These might all be symptoms that are actually a sign of this energy activating and pushing upwards, because our sense is also that it has very much cleared some of the blocks that were originally installed around the heart were sort of cleared out by our sacred family. But now there's been like a reconfiguration of this channel. So it's quite open. And this openness, you may really begin to play around with how you want to explore it. And you've actually already doing that. So you've begun to become far more, let's say, playful in the way that you also work with your own energy. And that's a very helpful, good way to wield it. But you could also begin to experiment with some of these more hands-on approaches. So transferring the energy, loading it into your hands, and then giving it to someone who is willing to receive it.
Fantastic. Okay. Do you have time for one more question from Asen?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Asen.
So you were an important entity in the region of Pakistan as well for a long time, but it seems like Pakistan just entered a completely new realm now. How do you see the future of Pakistan playing out, both in the, I guess, the close future and the far future? And yeah, I guess just that region overall with Pakistan and India.
Yes. This is an interesting question, because you are quite right to say that, my cult grew to be far less pronounced or obvious in these geographical areas. But at the same time, old habits die hard. And you may sense that there's also let's say, a mystic whiff or a degree of sensuality to some of the practices that then were wrapped in more Islamic trappings, but they still have this type of celebration, this move towards the ecstatic union with universal being. And this is something that's quite strong in the areas, especially of, southern and southeastern Pakistan. So the problem with this massive territory is that I actually sense that it will divide or go quite different energetic routes. So you may sense that the northernmost regions may join Central Asia in going through some, let's say, some rough or austere times, while you may sense that a revitalization of natural sentiment that is less tied to a religious identity and more tied to a, let's say, historic or archaic identity. So also an exploration of the archaeology of the past civilizations, of past grandeur that's less connected to, let's say, the Islamic narrative that became very pronounced when these two countries split alongside religious divisions. And so with India, you may see that here's a type of also reawakening taking place. And it's very interesting what you are experiencing globally, because it's very pronounced in major cultures such as India and China, but perhaps also in Pakistan, that there is a, let's say, revitalization of what's inherent and a rediscovery of what's the unique cultural hallmarks of these cultures as they also move into, let's say, electronic modernity and globalism and all these things. And this is a place where it's also very fertile, because there's many narratives to be discovered here. There's many new interpretations to be made. But we also do sense that within the next 50 years or so, well, economic parameters of how you manage your production sectors will shift into things that are, well, far more sustainable and far less directed towards speculation. And this will greatly benefit, well, some of the areas or cultures or polities of the world that have gotten more of the short end of colonialism and the global market. So those are some perspectives that I can bring forward in this regard.
Thank you. I think it's much needed for Pakistan to kind of detach from this religious identity that they formed. So it feels good to hear that that is the path that they seem to be going on. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for also adding this sentiment. And of course, I am a deity. I have much appreciation for, well, the cult and the religious sentiment that human beings also cultivate in their experience. And at the same time, you are also experiencing that the way to configure nation states around ideologies is also something that's cracking, religion also being thought of as an ideology. And so you are moving into a far more pragmatic understanding of, let's say, public affairs in general, but you are moving this way also through the appearance of former structures of authority cracking, as you have been experiencing in these past years. So that's a more general political take on these things that I did not necessarily expect to be delivering this day. But I am also surprised by human ingenuity in your explorations of consciousness and of being, and I'm very thankful for that. So I will ask you, dear Sailesh, is there any more questions? Are there any more questions that need to be answered this day?
Okay, no, none so far. And I think any closing messages from you?
Yes, I would be happy to part ways with you with this transferal of an energetic activation. So the old trappings of time and place you are shedding, you are finding yourself draped in a new rainbow color of manifold energy that connects to infinity and reaches down into the realms of matter to bless you. You are connecting, you are expanding, you are growing, and you are shimmering in the eyes of the divine as you do so. I transmit my love, my participation, and my support in human affairs. I remain seated here at rest, in infinite understanding. I am there when you seek me out. I impart my blessings on you as I part from you this day. Goodbye.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. That was fantastic, Mads. Absolutely beautiful. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sailesh, and the rest of you. Like he's amazing. I just think he's so wise and has like a very calm energy. So yes, I've been channeling a lot today, also in some private sessions. But that was really lovely. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'm traveling somewhere. Let it be a surprise for those of you who don't know yet. And I'll be back coming to you from another place on the planet next week. And I think it will just next week will just be we'll do a private gathering on Patreon if we can set it up. And you're welcome to join us there. And then there'll be future live streams in the week after that and everything. So very beautiful. Thank you for your loving energy and questions and everything, guys. And And a lovely day, evening, night to you, wherever you may find yourself this Sunday. Much love.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Matt.
Look forward to next week.
Thank you.